Hey gang, John Backrelli here with your Lake St. Clair Fishing Report, brought to you by Sportsmen's Direct. It is Wednesday, August 20th. Water temperature at Belle Isle was stuck at about 80 degrees for about 10 days. I believe that's going to be the peak water temp because the temperature has already fallen back now with the cold front that's just come in, already back down to 75, which is basically where it was when we did the last report. And we're getting reports of guys off the water today that are reporting 71, 72 degrees in a lot of places, especially up there on that north end. So water temperature is falling back. Weather forecast going forward, because that has all the impact on the water temps, is calling for cooler temps for the foreseeable future. And next week we've got some even cooler temps than what we've just had. So I would expect the temps going to keep falling back. We're going to get down to that main Belle Isle water temperature down around 70 degrees here pretty quick, maybe within the next week. And if we get cool enough temps, then we'll see even the shoreline areas even cool down more than that. With the shorter day, we have much shorter days now at this time of the year, right, going into fall. So the sun is kind of losing that battle of warming things up even when it is warmer. So the water temp's just going to keep declining as we go. And if we get any more big north wind blows, it's going to flush that warm water out of the lake and replace it with that cooler water from up on Lake Huron. So that's what we've got going forward to look ahead. The weather itself, once we get past tomorrow looks like maybe a little bit of a northeast wind, not as strong as it was today. But then for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, much lighter winds, nice temperatures, maybe a chance of a pop-up thunderstorm one of the days on the weekend. But other than that, the weather looks gorgeous. So if you got a chance to get out, I would get out, take advantage of it. Satellite image I got from a couple of days ago. Really doesn't show anything significant out there, and I don't think what we just had occur weather-wise is enough to really do anything yet at this time of the year, just because of the way that the lake settles out. We haven't had too much rain. You've got some runoff areas, but nothing in that satellite image shows me that should be a problem. If anything, it'll add just a little bit of color to the water in certain areas that are going to help improve the fishing conditions. And because we've been dealing with gin clear water for a long time, which makes these fish really skittish. Still lots of perch reports coming from the same areas, although that area out by the 26 can seems to be producing smaller fish that you really got to pick through them. Guys are doing much better on the south end of the lake, and that historically is the pattern for this time of the year. That south end down near the dumping grounds, and even farther south than that, all the way up to the mouth of the Detroit River, out in front of the Grosse Pointe Yacht Club, gets really hot at this time of the year for the perch. And got my beliefs as to why that is, but it doesn't matter because it just happens, and it happens every year that south end gets really hot for perch. The other thing that happens is, and it's still going on, it's been going on for a couple of weeks, is guys throwing slip bobbers and fishing up in the channels and cuts up on the north end of the lake, like along the pencil reeds and stuff, fishing for much shallower fish, sometimes in only a couple to under 10 feet of water up there, but they're using slip bobbers. But a reminder for you guys, even fishing out on that main lake, I know a lot of guys have gone back to fishing with spreaders and perch pounders and everything, and fishing right down next to the side of the boat. When you're in these clear water conditions, you're going to catch more quality fish getting away from the boat using a slip bobber, even with those different spreader rigs. Get away from the boat. Sometimes you can even replace that bottom sinker with a jig head down on the bottom, because you're generally not using as heavy of a weight when you're using that slip bobber. Otherwise, you're going to sink it. But put maybe a jig head down there on the bottom, tip that with a minnow, and flip it out, get it away from the boat, and you're going to have success on much bigger fish, even out there in that 12, 14 feet of water. And that slip bobber will allow you to do that effectively out there. One of the other things that's happening out there with all the perch guys is they are complaining about the smallmouths. Where there's perch, there's smallies, and especially this time of the year, those smallies have caught up with those perch out in that deeper water, and they are right there with them. So if you're a smallmouth fisherman and you're listening to this and you want to find those smallies, find those perch guys, and you're going to find those big smallies out there as well. They are definitely together. And Garrett Samsel up there on that north end, he knows that end of the lake probably as good as anybody. He has been very consistent on the smallies up there, so that shows you that shallower bite up there, even with those guys up fishing shallow with the bobbers, like up and around those pencil reeds, I guarantee you there's smallies up in those areas as well. And Garrett is one of the guides on this lake that knows how to capitalize on that up on that north end for sure. Now, as for smallies, there is another pattern that emerged big time, and actually we had heard about it probably in the couple of weeks leading up to that Bassmaster Elite event, but there is a ton of crayfish up there on that north end of the lake. I have no idea what they're doing. I've tried to read up on it. Some of the stuff that I've read up on seems to imply that the crayfish may be going into a spawning cycle going into the fall, but we're really not in fall yet, so I'm not quite sure what's going on up there with all the crayfish. But there are a ton of crayfish up there, and that is definitely a pattern up on that north end of the lake. Dylan Grubb was up there fishing the Great Lakes Finesse juvie craw, scoring smallies, taking advantage of that pattern up there. There's lots of different ways you can do it. Smaller tubes, like even bigger tubes, right? Even 4-inch tubes this time of the year. But definitely those smaller tubes, 2 3/4 inch size, and those green pumpkin, those kind of greenish colors, tend to imitate a craw really well too. So that would definitely be something you could throw up there on that end of the lake trying to target those smallies. Let's see, what else? Oh, briefly talk about the Bassmasters Elite event. I've been thinking a lot about what I saw. I watched a lot of live coverage, and I was trying to figure out how I felt about everything that I was seeing going on and what's kind of changed in the sport, especially with tournament bass angling and kind of overall, actually. And so I'm really interested into hearing your guys' opinions, especially if you watched that event. If you haven't, maybe go back and watch some of that coverage, some of that taped coverage of the event. And I'm interested in hearing your thoughts on what your opinions are. And I mean, especially that's considering using the live scope so predominantly now in tournament fishing. So, anyways, I'm really interested in hearing your opinions. So chime in on our comments. I want to hear what you have to say, and then maybe I'll do a short video. I'll try to keep it short with my perspective on it. And but I'm gonna definitely want to hear your opinions on it as well too before I do that video. Let's talk about the musky bite out there. Musky bite is still growing strong. It's going to be a lot easier for you guys to release fish out there now with these temperatures cooling off. I know when we get that 80-degree water out there, man, it's really taxing on these big fish that fight hard and long, and when they're done fighting, they're really hard to release. So without having them go belly up. So please take your time with these bigger fish, even with the smallies. Anything that you're releasing, make sure that those fish are strong. But definitely with the water temperatures falling back, it does make it easier. That there's more oxygen in the water. These fish can regain and recover much faster with the cooler water. But the charter captains like Captain Jason Quintano and Spencer Berman have definitely been taking their fair share of fish out there. I haven't seen a lot of gargantuan fish, but definitely really good numbers in that 40-plus inch class being taken out there on the lake right now. And following Jason Quintano, he's been talking about this new bait that's out there, the Bad Shad Hybrid, and or is it Boss Shad, whatever it is. We got them at the store now. It's kind of a Medusa hybrid. It's like a Medusa front half of the bait, and then kind of a tube on the back half. And really unique looking bait. It's got a lot of weight to it, so it'll cast really well. It'll hold depth, should hold depth really well with that Medusa front end on it. But he's been catching a ton of fish on it. We've got him at the store now. We got 11 colors and a couple of sizes, but some really good colors. So it should be a really hot bait for the rest of the year and going forward out here on Lake St. Clair. So it's also got a cool spinner blade coming out the back on it, kind of like a trailer. So it kind of does everything all in one bait, which is really unique. Other dinosaur fish out there that everybody targets is the sturgeon. Okay, now this time of the year, there's be more guys going out after the sturgeon. As the temperatures cool off, those nighttime bugs will be a lot less. Hopefully, we're not quite there temperature-wise yet, but when you get down into the 50s at night, then it tends to knock these skeeters down considerably, and so the nighttime angling gets much more comfortable. And I know a lot of you guys like to target sturgeon at night. But that's not to say that you can't catch them during the daytime hours. And Jeff and his motley crew have been out there catching sturgeon, and they do it during the daytime. Jeff fishes almost always during the day, and he gets his fair share of sturgeon out there. And Jeff also wanted to remind everybody that the North Channel Sturgeon Classic, that's kind of a tongue twister, is going to be coming up in September. So if you're interested in that, you're going to want to sign up for that sooner than later. But that's always a good time, and that event gets bigger every year. And I think all the money goes back to helping that sturgeon fishery up there, which is phenomenal. It's amazing. A reminder here. This time of the year is when I start telling you guys, take time when you're out there while the water is still clear and pay attention to where the weed beds are for all you ice fishermen, okay? So as you're coming out of your canals, pay attention to where those weed pockets are. Out in front of your canals, along the shoreline, out in front of Metro Beach, Anchor Bay, all these different areas that you know you're going to be ice fishing. Pay attention to where those weed beds are now. Pay attention to where the corners are, the inside bends are. Pay attention to where the weeds transition to a different type of weeds. I like to look for coontail. If I can find areas that have coontail, if you don't know what coontail is, look it up online. But that's one of the key weeds that I like to see, especially for perch and for bluegill. And it's harder to find out in the main lake. Some of the canals have more of it, but we also got a lot of invasives now too that kind of crowd it out. But anyways, look for those different weeds and all the different bottom structure. Take the time to either mark it on shore with, line things up to get pinpoint accuracy, or save those waypoints and put them on whatever device you're going to be using when you're out there ice fishing. Doesn't do any good to save them on your boat GPS if you have no way of getting that data back to your phone or whatever you're going to be using when you're out there running around. So sometimes just having good shoreline markups, or if you're in a canal, knowing out in front of which boat dock, boat slip number, different structures are or weed beds are, that's important information. So jot it down on your phone. Take a note in your phone. That way you'll have it when you're going out there for the winter time. So update on that 9 Mile boat launch. It is finally open. For you guys that were expecting maybe some big new, new and improved 9 Mile boat launch, no, that's not what this remodel was about. It was about the sewer system. But the 9 Mile boat launch is open again. Still that crazy long walk from the parking lot to the launch. They still only have the one floating dock in there, so you're launching on either side of that. But the 9 Mile boat launch is open, so for some of you guys, that's going to make you real happy. It looks like the cost on it is $10 for residents and $20 for non-residents. So it's open now, so you have access to it, and you can, I'm sure it'll come in handy for you guys running out there for that perch bite down on that south end. I think that's all I've got for this report. Great weather coming this weekend. Hope to see you in the shop. Get out there and take advantage of the cooler temps. Hey gang, if you like our content, hit the little subscribe button and the bell icon, and you'll be notified as soon as we put out new stuff.